All right, I'll be honest. I think a lot of players have a misconception as to what it takes to get to that college level. College basketball is a very high level game. There are a lot of things that are different about it. There's a lot of money involved at really any level. So you got to make sure you're on your stuff. But with that being said, of course it's doable. No matter where you are in the world, whether you're in the States, whether you're international, college basketball is becoming a more international game anyways. So it's doable. But you have to know the real nature of it. And it's not most of what you see on social media. It's not most of what you learn as a player. There are certain things that you're gonna have to take more seriously that you may have never trained or worked on, and that's just the nature of the game. So I'll go through all of that today, and although this is technically about college basketball, a lot of it can go for pro basketball internationally. So if you're a young hooper outside of the States, just know this can apply to you, and honestly, college isn't always the best option. Sometimes it's smart to just stay in your country, work up the pro ranks there, and have a great career. So I guess think of this video as how to become a high-level basketball player. With the exception of NBA, that's a different story. It's a completely different style. But if you get good at all the things learned in this video, it's a pretty good bet you're going to play at a high level. Let's get it. So number one is getting accustomed to higher speeds. This means faster players, faster defenders. This means the pace of the game, right? So you're going to feel yourself kind of getting up and down the court a little bit more at each level that you go to. This is the speed of your decisions, which I really want to focus on, because every single time you go to a new level, these decisions are going to have to be a little bit quicker. When you catch that ball, you're not going to have time to take a few dribbles, back up, and then make a decision. If you don't already know what's going on before you catch the ball and have an idea of what you're going to do beforehand, chances are you're going to be behind the play, you're coming out of the game. So get really good at making quick decisions, starting to see the game ahead of time, and then most importantly, being calm through this all. I think a lot of the time younger players don't realize how fast college basketball games move simply because of how calm these guys and girls are through these high speeds. So if you can handle pressure to make these fast, aggressive defenders look kind of stupid or look like they're not trying, that's a pretty good skill to have. But overall, it's about just getting comfortable at higher speeds. So this means not only getting faster, of course, but even more so learning how to play composed at these higher speeds. This going to help you a lot. Number two is tactical skill and adaptability, which in my opinion is the most important one. So we usually consider skill, what can you do with the ball, right? What are your handles looking like? How many shots can you make? How's your finishing around the rim? And of course, all of that is skill. Like, I'm not gonna deny that. But in reality, it's way more than that. So what I would consider tactical skill is being able to get easy buckets through just being good at manipulating and reading the game of basketball. So we got a couple check boxes here. Number one, do you know terminology? If you walk into a college gym and you don't know what a floppy action is, a ghost screen, a 45 cut, a horn set, it's gonna be tough for you. So start studying these things now. Number two, do you know how to work off ball and find either easy buckets or situations that you can turn into easy buckets or easy drives, like closeouts, like advantages and handoffs, like maneuvering pick and rolls, all of these situations that are much more realistic to see in a college game than an ISO. Number three, do you recognize patterns well? In other words, do you see where the help defenders are moving and what passes to make based on that? Do you recognize when to start a fast break? Do you recognize when to feed the post because they have a mismatch? You got to start thinking the game on a new level and seeing these patterns. Number four, as we talked about, do you make quick decisions? I already said it, but I'm gonna say it again. If you don't speed up your decisions for this next level, you're gonna be behind. Number five, do you have a knack for high IQ plays and context? So in a late game situation, do you know what to do? Do you know how to see a new defensive coverage and figure something out? This is stuff that comes with experience and being a student of the game. And then are you tactically adaptable? So what I would consider tactical adaptability to be is being a player who can fit into a variety of situations. In one system or one team or even one game, you may be a spot-up player, right, who's shooting primarily corner threes. Then your point guard may be out a game and you have to step into that role. Can you then adapt to that situation? Then maybe you're playing with a different team or a different coach the next season and you're asked to do something else. Can you adapt to that? So if you're able to know the game and understand the game well enough and then put your ego aside and do anything that the team or the coach asks of you, that's a good bet to play at this level. And then lastly, I think it's important to realize that we have to be able to combine this tactical skill with our actual ball skill. In other words, when's the last time you worked on catching and finishing versus dribbling into the finish? You may be, but I rarely see players work on that, and it's one of those skills that's tough and is needed. So when you're working on your skills, your finishing, your shooting, your ball handling, work on these in ways that fit into an actual basketball game at this level. All right, next up, you got to be freaking strong, right? If you've never sat like close to a college basketball game or even like an open run for high-level college players, it's hard to grasp just from watching TV how physical this game can be. And again, this goes for pretty much any professional play as well. Like, this is a contact sport and it's physical, and most of these players, whether it's the guys or the girls game, are freaking strong. So you got to be strong enough to maintain lines to the rim. You got to be able to guard bigger players. You got to be able to finish with contact. You got to be able to handle contact that's pushing you off your spot off ball. You got to be able to handle pressure when you have the ball, and much more. Now, I made a full video about basketball strength and developing it, so go check that out. But just realize that getting basketball strong is huge here, and it's going to open up a lot for you. And this doesn't just mean working out in the weight room, pumping iron. That's part of it, but a lot of it is strategy and technique as well. Make sure to check out that video. Next up, you got to be a shot maker from every level. I'm not saying you got to shoot crazy Kobe shots, but you have to make somewhat difficult shots look easy. And by every level, I mean three-pointers, I mean getting into the mid-range, I mean that kind of closer short jumper / floater area, and at the rim. And these shots have to be comfortable even if they're decently contested. Like a lot of the shots that you see at the college level, players make them look easy, but they do have a pretty good contest. You got to be comfortable off bad passes, moving in any direction, including away from the rim, maybe a high-speed sprinting in transition, maybe rotating to catch the ball. Because realistically, even from the three-point line, you'll rarely get that wide-open standstill three. So start to get comfortable with anything, become a shot maker, work on contested shots. Not to say that you're always going to shoot crazy contested shots, but if you can get comfortable with a slight contest, this is going to help your chances big time. Now, next up, and this should be obvious, but players don't focus on it. I never see anything on social media posted about it. I rarely see coaches actually teaching this, especially trainers, but you have to be able to play defense. You got to be able to guard. If you can't defend the opposing team any given night, you're not going to play, okay? Period. And I know it sounds cliche and it sounds like an old school coach, but enjoy defense. Take pride in it. It's just how it is. And if you're able to defend, you're going to find your way onto the court. You're going to get a longer leash. And from there, now you can start to show your offensive side of things. But I see so many good offensive players who never even step on the court because of defense, or I guess lack thereof. Now, real quick, skill-wise, before we talk about the mental side, let's talk about what you don't need. And this primarily comes down to you don't need literally every move in the books. Is it good and probably necessary to be super skilled? Of course. But learning hella moves and how to do these in ISO situations shouldn't be your focus. What it should be is developing super high levels of skill to finish with contact and chaos. Again, being a shot maker, handling contact as you're dribbling, changing pace with more simple moves to get by defenders. And most importantly, being able to get by defenders very simply in the flow of an offense. Then, once you get cut off, once you're on a roll, once you have the leash to do that, then you can get super creative with the ball, but this should be the last step. Because if you look at how most college players score, even the top scorers and the toughest buckets are pretty simple. Yes, there are super tough buckets, but a lot of time this could be off of a cut. This could be off of a pick and roll situation. This could be when they go up at the rim and end up doing a tough finish because a shot blocker comes in at the last second. And trust me, I'm not saying that every college player just needs to be able to jump stop and shoot an open three. Let's be real. You got to be really skilled to play at this level, but learning how to be efficient with those skills you have should take priority over learning a bunch of new ISO moves. Now, the last key that I'll talk about, and this is kind of the secret sauce to this recipe, is the mental side of things. And I just dropped my Mental Skills Academy where it covers all of this stuff in depth. Plus, I can't really go into all of it right now. So make sure to check that out. It'll be in the virtual academy link in the description. But the point is here, you have to be ready for challenges. You have to be ready for these big opportunities that you've been working your whole life for. Because if you get here or you get on the verge of it and you're not ready for that moment and you don't truly believe in yourself, chances are there's somebody out there who is. So be a big game player, embrace these challenges, and practice every day in the games. When you're playing against rivals, you got to be a game time player, not just somebody who plays well in practice. You got to be numb to highs and lows, right? If your team wins a big game, yes, celebrate, but you're right back to that even keel the next day. If you screw up a couple times in a game, you come out, coach is mad at you, got to be able to bounce back from that the next time you get into the game. There's no room for going like this in a high-level college system because there's somebody to replace you coming straight off that bench. Again, you got to have a high IQ, so you have to think the game at a high level and be composed enough to do this in crazy, chaotic situations. You got to be super diligent to make sure everything's taken care of, whether it's staying engaged on defense, getting offensive boards, the simple things that coaches want to see. And finally, you got to find the perfect balance between killer and efficiency. Of course, you got to have some of that killer in you. It's what makes good players. But you also got to learn how to channel that in a composed way that allows you to get easier buckets with that skill and that killer mentality. Sometimes the killer's got to say, nah, I'm going to go get this bucket myself. all that. But the other side, the more efficient, composed player on this shoulder will say, okay, let's calm down, let's work with our offense, let's do what the coach wants, and maybe make something happen a little bit more simpler for our team. Other times, you got to let that killer come out. It's the end of a shot clock, maybe you're getting hot, maybe you got a mismatch on you, and you got to go get a bucket. And finding that balance is very tough, but it's done by the best players in college. Now, how do you do all this, right? I've given you kind of the blueprint to all these things that you got to work on and get good at to play at this level, whether it's college, international, professional, whatever it may be. Now it's on you to go get good at these things. So of course, I have a library of freaking 500 something videos that you can go check out, but I'm also going to be making a video very soon on how to get good at these things, on how to just become a very robust basketball player. So stay tuned for that. If you're interested in any of the virtual academy programs, they'll definitely get you right. I got no doubt in my mind on that one. So make sure to check out that link in the description. As always, thank you guys for tuning in. Until next time.